numbers have increased. The same thing with the doctor. If somebody is presenting with cough and cold, maybe every day he sees 10 patients and then suddenly it becomes 25, then naturally he will think must be something which is happening in the community. Sometimes it happens by the patient or the patient's family himself. Say, for example, the same measles or even chickenpox. So sometimes somebody gets in the family, and then from there it spreads to other members in the family. So the family itself comes to know, okay, it's a small outbreak that has happened within your house or within your small group. And so therefore even the patients or their family members are sometimes aware of small outbreaks that happen in small places. Hospital or community-based surveillance programs that are routine hospital data and surveillance programs that happen across government setup as well as in private setup, which identifies outbreaks. You have a certain number of cases reported, say every month or say every week, or even collecting the data, you find that the numbers have increased quite a lot. So then there is a possibility of an outbreak happening. Site or a host into the community. So that is when again new virus which has caused this outbreak. So it's an unusual agent that has caused this outbreak. Now, why do we need to investigate an outbreak? So we should have been fine with part is reassurance of the public. I think COVID-19 is the classic example. You know, everybody, right from the poorest of poor to the richest of rich, everybody needs to be reassured and seen measures are being taken to actually control and contain this outbreak, and to minimize social and economic disruptions. Again, I need not have to speak to what extent we can have social and economic disruptions. We have already had a year almost of these disruptions, how much business has suffered, how much our life has suffered. The reason why we are sitting in remote places and talking between Chennai and that itself shows that how this epidemic has created a social barrier between people meeting each other. Investigations in Wuhan, lot of accusations and denials of how it spread, when it first occurred, when it was disclosed, who was actually reprimanded for reporting. So all these controversies had actually erupted. It is first because of this urgency to find out the source and prevent further cases. It is in relation to that. There are always pressures for conclusions. The first thing that people ask, so these are jumping the gun when we don't know the results so far. So there are pressures on drawing rapid conclusions. Then pressures because of legal and financial liability. If you are running a business, then you need to understand when will this end. So you have to prepare for that. So similarly, there are legal issues associated with it. You need to pay somebody, you don't have the money, your business has suffered. So what has to be done? There are so many other legal issues that actually come into picture. So these issues are also there. And then sometimes what happens is that during investigations, you land up with trouble with authorities and with people suing you for what they will call as so these kind of issues will come, and you have to be ready for that challenge. And you Even when you are actually investigating, you need to start preventions as and when you understand with whatever knowledge you have. I think India has been one of the
Sir, please unmute yourself. Dr. Subarna, you are requested to unmute yourself.
Excuse me, sir. Please unmute yourself.
hello. Hello.
वृंदा मैं बाद में करती हूँ.
Yes, sir, you are audible now.
Okay, when did you miss me? At what time?
Just for few 1 to 2 minutes, sir.
Okay. So I was talking about infection control measures. So the thing that I was telling is that before you actually finish investigating an outbreak, there is nobody which actually wants to prevent you from instituting certain practices which you think will be useful in containing the outbreak. The classic example I gave was of the use of masks that India advocated long before. Am I audible? Am I audible? Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are audible.
Yeah.
Please continue.
So similarly, hand washing practices was also advocated, and closures or lockdowns that we had throughout the country. Then removal of products and devices. For example, the first thing that was removed was the biometric attendance systems from the government institutions. And it was thought that perhaps they are likely to spread infections while putting a thumb on the biometric attendance systems. So those are things that you generally can think of which are likely to cause infections, and then you try to remove them or possible source of contamination. And then you carefully weigh the potential benefits and the risks of using more drastic measures. The lockdown is one, which ideally lockdown would have prevented a lot of cases from spreading. But then you just can't keep lockdown for long periods because it amounts to so much of harm to the people as well as to the economy. So therefore, there has to be a careful weighing of the potential benefits and the harm that each of these interventions may cause. Now, there are 10 steps in conducting an outbreak investigation. The first is determine the existence of an outbreak. You have to first prove that it is an outbreak. Second is the confirmation of diagnosis. So you have to confirm that the disease is because of that outbreak or that pathogen that you are questioning. You have to define a case. Whom do you call affected person? Then you have to search for cases. Then you generate a hypothesis using the descriptive findings that you have made so far. Then you test the hypothesis based on an analytical study. Then you draw conclusions out of your investigations. Then you compare the results of your conclusions of your investigations your hypothesis with the facts that have already been established so far. And then you communicate the findings that you have made during your investigation, and you execute prevention measures. So these are more of theoretical aspects that I talked about. Now I will try to touch upon all these aspects with some of the on-field experiences that I myself had with various outbreaks. The first one was incidentally the first outbreak that I also investigated in my career, and it dates back to 2002 when I was posted in Port Blair in Andaman Nicobar Islands. And as you can see in this map, the location of Andaman Nicobar Islands is down here in the Bay of Bengal and in Indian Ocean. So it is more towards the Java, Sumatra, Indonesian islands, Burma, rather than the Indian mainland. And if we just magnify the Andaman Nicobar Islands, so you have a long stretch of islands, a narrow strip from North Andaman Island in the north to the Nicobar Islands in the southern group of islands, and then the Indira Point is there in the Great Nicobar Islands, which is the southernmost point of India. And these are an archipelago of around 300 islands in the Indian Ocean, and there only 35 are inhabited. That is because there is scarcity of drinking water. And the population is very thin, around 3.8 lakh people residing in that entire stretch of islands, among which Port Blair town alone has about 1.5 lakh of people. And it is the home to some 6 tribes. The Great Andamanese tribe, who are only 52 in number, the Jadwas 380 in number, the Ongis around 100 in number, Sentinelese, how because they are not in touch with any of the civilized people, and those who have tried to get into contact with them had been killed. So they live in the North Sentinel Island, and nobody, including our armed forces, never go to those islands. And then the Shompens, who live in the South Nicobar group, they are around 300 in number. And the largest one, the Nicobaris, who live throughout this southern group of islands, mostly in Car Nicobar. So they constitute around 2,000 people. So then I come farther down to these islands where you have this small, very small group of islands called the Nancowdy group. It is an island of 7, it's a group of 7 islands, with the Kamota Island, Nancowdy Island, and Trinket Island being the larger ones among these 7. And an outbreak of diarrhea, so-called outbreak, was reported during October-November 2002. And the news came to the Port Blair headquarters. At that time, there were no mobile phones, and then the telephones would also work very nominally, because you can understand these are very, very remote islands and hardly there is any telephone line anywhere. And the tribals, they don't have any telecommunication device. In fact, beyond Port Blair and Car Nicobar, there is no value of money, because there is no business that happens there other than exchange. So it's more of a barter system. The government gives them the daily requirements, whereas the tribals, they give them the coconut and the areca nuts, which are brought back to Port Blair and then to mainland India for sale. So there is no, money has got no value even today in those islands. And the first case of death was reported on 5th October 2002. And the Director of Health Services was notified on 10th October. He formed a team for investigation. And then there was a report that the outbreak was contained, so there was no need for sending the team. So these news were coming from the police department through what we used to call as police radio. So there would be some kind of dot dash messages through the Morse code, and this information would come to Port Blair, and then we get to know what is happening there. Then the team postponed the visit. But then later on, end of October, again news came that the outbreak was continuing and it has been starting to spread to other villages. So then the team which was formed visited the Nancowdy Islands and started the investigation. So I was part of the 3-member team that visited the islands. And to visit to those islands, it takes around 3 days by ship from Port Blair. So you can understand how far and how remote those islands are. And there are no jetties, so you have to get down from this ship on this floating, what you call them, we used to call jetties only floating jetties. So you can get onto them or straight away get down onto smaller boats, and then these boats will carry you to these islands. So the settlements are actually on the sea beach only. Inside is deep forest. So the tribals, the Nicobaris, they live in these huts, which are made on the river, on the seashore, and they are raised a little bit higher because of the tides. And this is their lifestyle. So since they are with the sea, so they make kind of ornamented boats made of single log of coconut tree called a hori, and they would decorate their house inside. And once you go into their houses inside, you will find a god sitting there. So they are basically very people who are very religious, and mostly they're Christians. And then their gods, they look just like us. And whatever they eat and drink, so they offer the same thing to the gods. So they are fond of taking some country liquor, toddy or something. So, and then some cigarette also. So what is not cigarette, it's like bidi. So they give those things to their gods, as well as the women folk, they will be making food inside. And that is how their lifestyles are. So mostly fishing and eating raw fish and raw boar meat. And that is how their life goes on. And once they kill the boars, so they will take out their jaws and decorate their houses in this fashion inside. So we have to determine that there was an existence of outbreak. We have to confirm the diagnosis, and we have to define the case. So what we did is that we defined that any person from this Nancowdy group of islands reporting with watery diarrhea on or before 5th October, when we first got the report of this outbreak occurring, was considered as a suspected case. Our data source was a community health center in Kamota. That was the only community health center in that region, in those islands, all the islands put together. And the list of residents that we got from the Andaman Nicobar administration for the issue of ID cards. And we interviewed the patients and the family members of the people who were residing there. And if you can see the epidemic curve, so these are number of cases against the dates. And as you can see, from September onwards, we found a very high number of cases. So this fits into our definition of epidemic. There has been a very significant rise in the number of cases of diarrhea in the group of Nicobari tribes residing in that Nancowdy group of islands. So it fits into the definition of an outbreak. So we set up a temporary lab in Nancowdy PHC in CHC, Community Health Center, where we needed to do the investigations because they did not have the facilities for laboratory culture and all this there. So we had to arrange it temporarily there. And we started taking samples from the stool and started culturing them. We started searching for cases. So we visited each and every household. These households are actually called two heads. And these are kind of extended families of around 20. So you have the cousins and then their families residing all together. And the head of the village is called village captain. And so he is kind of the person who would actually determine what will happen for the village, and always the village head. And each village will typically have some 5 to 6 houses carrying about say 20 people each. So this is inside one of such houses. And the index case is the first case that the outbreak can identify. So we identified an 18-year-old girl by the name Magdalene, who lived at Tapong village in the Nankodi Island. And she had watery diarrhea and vomiting on 5th October and died. So another 11 people were admitted to the community health center with severe diarrhea immediately. And then we tried to make a spot map of the various occurrence of the disease on various dates and at place. So these are the villages that we dotted on the island. And then when did the outbreak start there? We tried to make a flow of how the outbreak spread from which place to which place. So that is what formed the basis of our investigation. And then we made a date-wise distribution of cases also. So as you can see, this is a persistent kind of number of cases over time. So that generally tells us that it is a persistent infection, not a point source. A point source infection is something which occurs, say you have a food poisoning in some party. So then everybody gets affected at one time, and then it subsides in 2-3 days, and then it dies off. So that's a point source infection. Now, this kind of curve generally will indicate a sustained source infection. So that means something which is already there in the community. So say the COVID-19 also, it's a sustained source. So it is not a point source. It occurred first as a point source, but then it spread. And then once it spread, so it has remained sustained throughout the communities. So these are the occurrence, the curves in various villages. And everywhere we find occurrences one after another happening and continuing. So we collected stool samples and rectal swabs from all the patients that we found in the community as well as in the CHC and their close contact, and we started for trying to isolate the enteric pathogens from these stool samples. And then we collected drinking water sources also, from drinking water samples from their sources, even seawater we collected from various places, and tried to understand if there is any fecal contamination. And so this is a picture of people with children being brought by boats, small boats from far away islands. Even some of the islands are 8 hours away from the CHC, so you can understand how difficult it is to transport the affected people into the CHC. So then we took blood samples from people in various villages. We went to schools and then tried to educate people on hand washing, hygiene, etc. As I said, that you need not wait for the outbreak investigations to complete before instituting measures of prevention. You start doing them subsequently. So we understood that it is going to be a kind of a fecal oral transmission route, so whichever pathogen it is. So we started the practice of hand washing, tried to make people understand the use of taking saline and sugar added water just to see that they are not dehydrated. So then we calculated the attack rates. Attack rates are calculated mostly on how many people are affected in a population. So we calculated attack rates based on their villages, their population, and we found that it was around 12.3, and there were 6 deaths in that, so which gave a case fatality ratio of about 1.23. Both males and females were affected, and all age groups were affected. This is very important from the investigational point of view, is that because if, say, females are infected more, then you have to understand that there is something which is there in the female lifestyle or their kind of physiology or their work that actually is causing the outbreak or to spread it more. But normally, say in this case also, there is not much of a difference. And age also will tell you important stories. If the children are more affected and not the adults. So then it means that the disease perhaps has occurred there earlier and the adults are more immune. But here, as we can find that all people were affected, and therefore this particular infection had happened here for the first time. So these are the hypotheses that we generated using the data that we found so far. And the possible hypotheses are that perhaps poachers from neighboring countries like Thailand, Burma, and they used to come for poaching of sea urchins and other sea resources in those islands. They come in their Yama boats, and we have seen ourselves some of the poachers actually they secretly fish out these sea whales from our Indian waters, and then they run away in the speedboats. So something coming from them, we thought perhaps possible that somebody might have been affected and then they came and spread it in these islands. Maybe they got down into. There are also reports of some kind of illegal migrants happening between some Thai residents and village in Pilmilo, which are very, very far away. So those also could not be ruled out. And then perhaps some non-tribal resident of the villages who had visited mainland India, so they may have also gone back and then perhaps spread it. Or the third one was added later on as effluent of ships. So that was one of my own contributions in that outbreak, because that is how we generally, I will come to that, how we arrived at that later. So the laboratory results was that we found stool samples, 67 stool samples that were collected, and among that we had 21 Vibrio cholerae O1 Ogawa positive. So it was a cholera outbreak, and we did find the cholera toxin producing gene in those particular strains, so in our labs. So therefore, it was established that the outbreak was due to Vibrio cholerae O1 Ogawa strain belonging to the biotype L-top. And more than 50% of the drinking water samples we found to be contaminated with fecal coliform. So that means there is a fecal oral contamination that happens, and then they are tribal, so they don't have that good hygiene practices, and they defecate in the open on the seawater in the seashore. So there is more likelihood of them getting infected with contaminated environment was quite possible. So seawater samples were also tested positive for fecal E. coli. This led me to think that perhaps the seawater or the seawater which is present on the sea beaches somehow got contaminated. So naturally they are defecating in the sea, and then getting contaminated is quite likely. But then how did it spread actually? So then if you can look at my old slide here, we had drawn a map of how this movement has happened of the disease from one place to another. And you can see that there is a definite pattern of flow. And then we found out that it is actually the same route that the ships generally take, the one which dropped us. So that also took the same route while going back to Port Blair. And then it occurred, it is quite possible that perhaps the ship has actually discharged the ship ballast, the waste of the ship was discharged perhaps somewhere nearby in these islands. And from there, the seawater has got contaminated, and Vibrios are salt-loving organisms. They spread happily in the islands, in the sea surface. And then when people go for hand washing or ablution in the on the sea beach, then they get infected, and then they acquire the infection. So what we did is that we did molecular characterizations, the ribotyping, the pulse field gel electrophoresis to find out the patterns of their genetic characters. And what we found is that the isolates that we got from Namkauri, they matched with one which was circulating at that time in Kolkata. So it was from 1993 to 1995, one similar strain with the same antibiotic resistance was actually circulating in Kolkata. And then we wanted to test our hypothesis of this ship. And we indeed found that before this outbreak started, one very big ship, the one which we traveled before that, another ship called MV Harshavardhan. It is not in service anymore right now, but it was one of the biggest ships in those times. And it had actually gone to Calcutta, and then from Calcutta it came to Port Blair. And at that time there was a shortage of ships for inter-island services. So then they pressed this ship into service to take people and government administration station people to the southern group of islands. And this ship has actually emptied its ballast after coming from Calcutta, not in Port Blair, but it went farther to near these islands, and then it emptied its ballast. And that is how the entire sea got contaminated in that coastline. And then we suggested the intervention measures like strengthening of control measures such as superchlorination in each and every household. We recommended strengthening of surveillance to detect spread to other areas, stricter control of effluent and discharge from the ships, so there should not be discharged in so vicinity of any island. Then screening of non-tribals also for Vibrio colony carriers. So there is a possibility that one person who might have come from Calcutta was actually a carrier of this particular strain of Vibrio, and then he might have got down at Port Blair. But then his stool had remained in the ballast of that ship, which was discharged in these islands. So that is how this contamination occurred. And we have suggested the use of chemoprophylaxis when the outbreak starts. And if needed, we recommended the imposition of travel restrictions to the southern islands. In any case, there is travel restriction to southern islands. Normal people cannot go there. Only the tribals who live there, they go, and government officials on government duty are only allowed in those islands. Otherwise, not. Except, of course, for the armed forces if there is any need. So, communications. So these were the two papers that were published in American Journal of Tropical Medicine and Hygiene and Tropical Medicine and International Health, where we used molecular characterization to understand this epidemic and then draw conclusions and then suggest measures to prevent it. So this is how it is one of the example how actually you do an outbreak investigation, and then you use the tools that you learn in your college, in your universities, the fingerprinting methods, the PCR methods, and you use them for applying them in field to understand and investigate an outbreak. So this is how we generally use our tools and try to understand or respond to an outbreak. So we have another 15 minutes more. So I will go through another outbreak. This I will just run very quickly because we don't have much of time. There was another outbreak of cholera in rural Bijapur. In fact, it was a couple of outbreaks. So this is in Karnataka state, North Karnataka. And this is an old slide in 2012 when this outbreak occurred. And as you can see that the cases of cholera reported in India was increasing, and so was in Karnataka state. And the deaths also had been remaining same or even increasing in those years. And but unfortunately, there were no reports of cholera from those regions in North Karnataka at all during that time. And on 20th August, 85 cases of watery diarrhea was reported from, again, a very remote village called Harnal, under Konur PHC of Mudabiyal Taluk. It is around 100 kilometers from the district headquarters in Bijapur. It had a small population of around 1,086 people. And I, along with the DSO team, visited I did not visit first. The DSO team visited the outbreak first, and then he conducted a house-to-house survey, collected water from the only drinking water source, which was a well, and then made arrangement to supply safe drinking water through this kind of tankers in that. And he introduced halogen tablets to chlorinate the well, as well as the domestic water storage cans. and the education of the personnel regarding hygiene was instituted. One very good thing that they did was that they converted one school into a temporary hospital immediately. And one ambulance was stationed there to take serious patients to PHC. So that was tremendously well done by the local administration. And so there were no deaths actually. They were giving IV fluids to people in the school itself. And on 21st August, another 55 cases were reported and chlorination were carried out. 5 stool samples were collected from these patients and were sent to BIMS, the government hospital in Belgaum. And then from BIMS, it was sent to me at our Belgaum Institute for further investigation. And we did the microbiological confirmation and found out that it was cholera. Then immediately I went there on 24th August. And we collected water sample from that well, which they were using for drinking, and repeat water samples were also collected. And we visited we just took a round of the entire area and tried to find out how this outbreak might have happened. And if you can see near the well, the encircled place has got a pipe nearby. And behind this pipe actually are a series of toilets. And those toilets are used by the residents of that people. And as you can see here, you can see a dog. So there are plenty of animals around between the well and this toilet pipe, which has come out from there. And it was reported that this place was covered with concrete only on 22nd August. And the villagers reported that there was rain on 17th and 18th August, just after a prolonged spread just before the outbreak. So we again drew the epidemic curve, and we found that 201 persons were affected with an attack rate of 20.94. And just before the outbreak began, as you can see, the rains, which are shown in a red arrow, that rains are occurred there. All age groups were affected, so that means again here the cholera perhaps was affecting the people for the first time. Vibrio cholerae O1 Ogawa was isolated, and it was confirmed by various other methods. Even we did an antibiogram, the antibiotic sensitivity patterns of the strains that we isolated. And the results of the well water was that it was contaminated. And on 24th August, when we went, it was borderline, because by that time, they had already started halogen tablets and use of chlorination there. So the epidemic curve indicated that an outbreak was a point source. Since all age groups are affected, it is likely that first time cholera has hit. And since the only water supply was the well, the potable water, and the village was found contaminated with fecal coliforms, it is likely that the well water got contaminated with cholera just before 20th August and triggered the outbreak. And there is evidence of fecal contamination, just as I said, that discharge from the sewage at the backside, and then the rains occurred. So what we hypothesize is that perhaps there was a breakage in that pipeline, and the sewage actually got contaminated, and then the rains happened, and the rains took the vibrios to the groundwater. So once the groundwater got contaminated, so then naturally it came into the well also, and the people drank that water, and then they were affected. So many times you would understand, the people think that anything which is from borewell or from deep tubes, they are free of contamination. That is not the case. The groundwater may get contaminated by seepage of contaminated water from animals, from humans, through this fecal matter, and then it may seep down into the groundwater as well. And that is exactly what happened here in this outbreak from Talikoti. So it led us to another village from Talikoti, where we wanted to identify the index case. Actually, this person came from Talikoti village and spread and used those toilets and spread the disease in that village of Arnal. But I am skipping these slides because of lack of time. And I will go to the third and final outbreak of diphtheria. And here, you know, diphtheria actually mostly is caused to children. So they are most affected. And under 5 mortality is extremely high. And this again dates back to around 2012, 2013. And diphtheria is caused by Corynebacterium diphtheria. So it actually has a phage-mediated exotoxin, which actually creates the problem. Humans, reservoirs are generally humans, and they are mostly asymptomatic. And transmission occurs respiratory. So we have transmissions through like what happens in the SARS-CoV-2. Sometimes through skin and even formitis. And it happens mostly in the winter and the spring. And it can actually remain in community for several weeks if not treated with antibiotics among the subjects. However, it is a vaccine preventable disease. We have DPT vaccine, and most of us are immunized for diphtheria at some point of time. And therefore, we should not be having diphtheria, but still it occurs. And for various reasons, I will come to that. And the clinical features are that it may affect the anterior nasal, pharyngeal, tonsillar regions or laryngeal regions, or it can even occur on skin, or even sometimes in the eyes and in the genitals. In rare cases, it can cause myocarditis, and it happens mostly in around 20% of cases, and sometimes peripheral neuropathy may also be caused in 10% of cases. So it becomes very serious at times. And vaccination has resulted in 95% decline in cases from 1980s to 2006. And most developing countries have achieved eradication. However, it continues to remain globally since 2007, and India alone contributes around 71 to 83% of the total cases. Here you can see that the black and red dotted lines are cases throughout the world, and the blue ones is that of India. And if you can see between 2008 to 2010, so most of the cases are accounted for by India. So it remains a problem, and it is actually resurging in the country. So these were the number of cases and deaths reported in India from 2007 to 2011. When this outbreak occurred. This is not updated, so I have kept it in the context of the then outbreak at that time. And as you can see that it has got quite a high case fatality ratio of about 1% and above. So like it is around 5.6% of people infected actually die out of diphtheria. The scenario in Karnataka, although cases had reduced, but still off and on we used to get. But then at that time, the studies on diphtheria were so few, I got only 8 results in PubMed when we searched for diphtheria and outbreaks in India. So not much was known, and people were not aware of the resurgence at all. It was reported from Delhi and adjoining states among those 8. And in urban slums of North India, some in Assam, a few in Mumbai, Hyderabad, Pondicherry. And a single case was reported from Karnataka, from Hubli. On 9th May 2011, a 4-year-old girl reported to a local practitioner at a village 36 kilometers from Bijapur headquarters in Karnataka, North Karnataka. And on 11th May, fever and sore throat increased, and she was unable to speak. So he went to a Bijapur pediatrician who suspected diphtheria and referred him to a hospital in Sholapur, which is across the border in Maharashtra state. And on 12th May, when the child was going to Sholapur, so she died on the way. On 15th May, the 6-year-old brother of this girl develops a hoarseness of voice and gets fever. And on 17th May, he visits the private hospital in Bijapur and admitted with suspicion of diphtheria. Throat swab was collected and referred to the nursing home in Sholapur. On 18th May, this boy also dies the very next day, the brother of that index case. Now here the throat swab actually yielded Corynebacterium diphtheriae. In our, later on we got this throat swab, and in our lab it was isolated and confirmed. On the next day, 29th May, Another 10-year-old sister of those two children was admitted. Again, her culture also yielded Corynebacterium diphtheria. On 23rd May, the fourth sibling, 8-year-old brother, got hospitalized and subsequently with the same complaints. So then naturally you see that so many people of the 2 children have died and another 2 are hospitalized. So naturally it became a very sensitive issue, and then the DSO team visited the area and 5 throat swabs were collected from nearby contacts and the neighbors, and active surveillance was started. They started chemoprophylaxis with erythromycin tablets to the close contacts. Antidiphtheritic serum was made available in the district hospital in Bijapur. So now, in case of diphtheria, it is not enough to only kill the bacteria, but the exotoxin which is released, the diphtheria toxin, that needs to be neutralized. Otherwise, that actually causes the death. So you need to administer, along with antibodies, the antidiphtheritic serum, ADS. So this was made available in Bijapur hospital. Again, because cases are so low, it is not generally available anywhere other than in those areas where actually you really have cases. So the eligible children were immunized, the education, community education activities were started. Throat swabs were sent to the government hospital and later on to our institute in Belgaum, including that of the second case, the brother of the girl who died. And repeat samples were also sent again later on in the next month. And up to December 2012, active surveillance resulted in identification of another 8 more people infected with diphtheria from 7 villages in nearby area. So this is the map of the area which actually was affected, and as you can see that these are quite a distance apart, but then because of movements and because of its spread by the aerial route, so naturally people got infected, and that is how it spread. So again, we cultured these organisms and we established it as diphtheria by PCR. I'm not going into the details of it. So the idea is that microbiological tools and molecular tools were employed to characterize the isolates that we got, both microbiology by using the culture and sensitivity patterns, as well as by using molecular techniques like PCR, and then further characterization by random amplified polymorphic DNA fingerprinting. So we observed 5 different types of the organism that is in circulation there. So which generally means that it is not one strain that has spread to these people. There were so many people who got positive C14 here, and we had got various kinds of outcomes as well as various kinds of characteristics of this particular Corynebacterium diphtheria as far as their molecular characteristics are concerned. So this study was the first report of an outbreak of diphtheria in Karnataka in the last 10 years at that time. So we reported the resurgence of diphtheria first in Karnataka, and it was much widespread and it was documented even in older children. So we pointed out the failure or the inadequacy of the DPT immunization that is happening in place. Even today, one paper is going to come very shortly, it has been accepted, where we found that only 30% of the children throughout the country are fully immunized against diphtheria. And remaining 30% are partially immunized, and another 40% are almost not immunized at all. So, but then this is not yet published, so this result is going to come up very soon. So that is why the importance of immunization is so important, because it is a vaccine preventable disease. But the problem was not only in Bijapur in North Karnataka. We isolated a few other Corynebacterium diphtheria from other places as well, including from southern Maharashtra and from other districts nearby. So, and we found that there are quite a number of strains, and some of the strains are common from one state to another, one district to another. And even in Belgaum also we got some of these isolates circulating. And interestingly, this is the latest slide that I included. So the outbreak was in 2011, 2012, but this data is the present data, as you can see in India. So it has the cases of diphtheria has been on the rise, and so is the number of cases. And if you look to your neighboring state in Delhi, you look at the number of cases and deaths, so they are actually increasing. But not many people are unfortunately talking about this vaccine preventable disease. This is in your Chandigarh alone. So these are things which we must understand. And although it is vaccine preventable, so if we are able to immunize our children properly with all the doses of vaccines, then these things we will not have to see. And perhaps you all are the right ambassadors of actually taking this message forward. This is one thing which you can make a lot of difference, because you are in those areas where actually diphtheria is on the rise. And now that you have understood a little bit about how and why investigations of outbreaks are done, you will be able to contribute much more, not only in your studies, in your understanding, but through the community as well, and in your own states. And in National Institute of Epidemiology here in Chennai, we are going to start a few courses on principles and practice of outbreak investigations, epidemiology, and lab connect. So I am taking the responsibility of connecting the epidemiologists, the healthcare doctors with the laboratory, and the laboratory with the healthcare workers, so that we are able to prepare for the next big outbreak and try to identify them quickly and roll out the interventions in rapid time. We will also have some courses on sample size calculations, as well as on the causal interference and observational studies, mostly for the social scientists. So these will all be completely free courses and completely online, around 8 weeks course. And it will take some time for us to launch this from our institute, but these are going to come up shortly, and those of you who are interested actually can get into this online. It doesn't cost anything, and you will get a certification also at some point. So with this, I would like to end my talk. I don't know how far I was able to make you understand about outbreaks in general. COVID-19 is a much bigger and a much more complex situation, where you have a lot of political factors also coming into play. Now problem is that now everybody has become a public health specialist and a microbiologist, and also even a lot of information and misinformation is being circulated in WhatsApp and in social media. So you have to be extremely careful. And now that you will know a little bit about what outbreaks are, what are the things that are required, you will be able to treat them with some kind of caution, and then you can forward, or you can choose not to forward, or even counteract them. So thank you once again. If I'm audible, I'm now open to questions.
So any question from any student or any participant? So thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Dr. Subarna Roy, for your insightful presentation and for sharing your experiences with outbreak of epidemics in the villages of Andaman and Nicobar Islands and some other parts of India too. You have explained anatomy of an outbreak in very easy and interesting way. Deaths associated with the natural disasters, particularly rapid onset disasters, overwhelming due to blunt trauma, crush related injuries or drowning, etc. Deaths from University of Punjab, Bathinda. BSc gold medalist, he was educated at University of Madras and IIT Bombay. After earning PhD from MEXT Japan as a Japanese government scholar, he has been serving the government of India since 2010 when he took appointment at Central University of Punjab. Dr. Felix served as an invited in residence intern with the President of India as an inspired teacher for 1 week at Rashtrapati Bhavan, New Delhi in 2015. Amongst many discoveries that his team at CU Punjab has made include 3 new species of marine macroalgae. Dr. Felix is a known science communicator in India through his writings, outreach talks, and YouTube videos fostering critical thinking and scientific temperament. Dr. Felix served as an elected National Core Committee member representing biology and medicine at Indian National Young Academy of Sciences 2020. Subsequently, he founded India's first Young Academy open to all fields of knowledge, Young Academy of India. He is also a member of National COVID-19 Task Force for INSA and India's Scientist Response to COVID-19. Dr. Felix is also involved with the SWAM, a flagship online education program of Ministry of Education, Government of India, as a course coordinator. In addition, he is an avid cyclist, a runner, frequent blood donor, and an advocate of a zero-waste and low-carbon footprint lifestyle. He has got numerous awards in his credit. He has been elected in National Core Committee of INSA, INYAS, Biology and Medicine in 2020. He has won the DST INSA Inspire Faculty Award. He has been bestowed with the Teacher Innovator Award, MHRD, Government of India 2016, and many more awards in his credit. We feel extremely fortunate to have the presence of such an eminent and dynamic personality among us. So without any further delay, I would request Dr. Felix to take the charge. Over to you, sir.
Yes, Dr. Surabhi Sharma, I hope I'm audible to all of you.
Yes, sir.
So, yes, thanks a lot for inviting, and especially this Kanya Mahavidyalaya in Jalandhar, where I have never been to. And I also express my deep gratitude to Dr. Archana Saini, who invited me here, and my own past student, Dr. Navgeet Kaur. I hope she is also there. I am really happy to hear that she is a faculty in KMV Jalandhar. So in this talk of mine is all about the COVID-19. Conclusion of this one is pretty profound. So what the authors found is that the lineage, that means the family that gave rise to this particular virus, that is SARS-CoV-2, has been circulating for decades, unnoticed in the bats, horseshoe bats, and likely include many other viruses that can infect the human beings. So they estimate the divergence time by the similar kind of work that I do here in Bathinda, something called phylogenetics, So they constructed a time-calibrated tree, and then they found that it's in 1948, this viral lineage started. It has been circulating unnoticed in bats for decades. This is what the latest paper, concluded. And is this the only paper? No, we'll be going back in years. This is, as you can see, this paper has been published in 2015, much before the current COVID-19 crisis. So this has been published in a very respected journal called Nature Medicine with very high impact factor. Friends, the title of the paper is "A SARS-like cluster of circulating bat coronavirus shows potential for human emergence." It's a repeated warning. This is way back in 2015, friends. And the author is an Indian origin scientist working in the US, Vineet D. Manacheri et al. Look at the date once again, 2015. Now let us go back still further. This is my favorite paper. You can see that this paper is published way back in 2007. Another very famous journal, Clinical Microbiology Reviews. The title of the paper is "Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome Coronavirus as an Agent of Emerging and Re-emerging Infection." And this is the original abstract of this paper. I don't want to read completely, but let me read the final statement of this abstract. It's an eye-opener, friends. Just listen carefully. The presence of a large reservoir of SARS-CoV-like viruses in horseshoe bats, together with the culture of eating exotic mammals in southern China, is a time bomb. See, the authors said way back in 2007, it is a time bomb. The possibility of the re-emergence of SARS and other novel viruses from the animals, and therefore the need for preparedness, should not be ignored. See, a dire warning issued way back in 2007. Well, we didn't listen to it. We didn't listen to the scientists and the papers, and that is the root cause of all these problems. So in episode number 9, I have covered that on average 2 new viruses a year had been spilled from the wildlife house to the humans over the last 1 century. If you look at the last 100 years, every single year there are 2 incidents of the spillover. By the way, what is spillover? Spillover event in epidemiology means a fast wild to human transmission, any diseases, especially the emerging diseases. When the from wilderness, it infects the human being for the first time, that is called a spillover. So on average, 2 spillover event has happened for the last 100 years, every single calendar year. That is an eye-opener. I've covered that. And that reminds me of this very famous internet meme by the March for Science team. At the start of every disaster movie, there is a scientist who is being ignored. Yes, ignoring the science is what it actually leads to all these global pandemics like COVID-19 or even the climate change. Scientists have been arguing for years that the climate change is real and it's happening, though the pace is very slow. But we are now entering a hothouse Earth. Still, subsequent governments across the world have been ignoring the stern warnings of the scientists, and that actually led to a large number of diseases. So I also conducted a survey what actually caused the COVID-19 here in India. So majority of the people, 54% of the Indians believed that the novel coronavirus was made in lab, a Chinese genetic engineering lab. Friends, this is nothing but a straw man's fallacy. People who indeliberately exploit the biodiversity, they just want to create an alternative narrative. Straw man's fallacy is a philosophical concept where you construct a straw man and you refute that a straw man instead of the real argument per se. So I'm also proudly associated with Inside COVID, ISRC, that has been won accolades from Lancet and Nature and Science. This is it's an organization of a group of scientists here in India. We usually spend our time and resources for busting the myth and fake news and conspiracy theories. As you can see, we actually release this sort of thing, short, what are the graphics that actually shows the real picture. I've also covered this topic quite often in so many of my writings, for example, in the Hindu article, as well as in the Wire Science and this YouTube video also, how to fight the fake news with cognitive immunization. So exposing yourself to the games that allow you to spot which is fake news and which is real, that will enable you to fight the fake news. So emerging diseases, if you look, so many of these diseases, SARS or Marburg or Ebola, pattern is very clear. Every single of these emerging diseases, you can find the root into one of the wild animals. For example, SARS is in bats, Marburg in bats, Nipah in bats, AIDS from primates, chimpanzee. MERS, that is Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome, is from camel. Avian influenza H5N1 from birds, while H1N1 is from swine flu, swine, pigs. Lyme, listeria, right? Deer or rodents, or Zika, exotic mosquito, dengue. So, the indiscriminate exploitation of the biodiversity is the root cause of all our troubles. And it's, it actually makes no sense to blame the game into some straw man. The same thing with the AIDS also in 1980s, when the AIDS was discovered, a predominant conspiracy theory amongst the black race in the US was that this is actually it is basically a virus invented by the white people, the white supremacists. They lab designed this virus, the HIV virus, to completely decimate the black population. You see, that is a fake news, predominant fake news, way back in plague time too, bubonic plague. The Christians in the Europe, they thought that this is actually introduced by Jews. Jews are deliberately poisoning the wells with the bubonic plague, the pathogens. So the fake news oftentimes happen as an excuse rather than fighting the real cause. The people invent this kind of fake news so that they can find an alibi. That is exactly what is happening in this case as well. The media is flooded with COVID-19 and vaccines and all those things, right? But of course, there are certain news stories that are also being emerging these days. For example, here is an alarming story from Brazil. Deforestation of the Amazon has soared under the cover of coronavirus. So media has no time or no space for featuring stories like this. This is reported by CNBC News, that during the COVID-19 period, deforestation in the Amazon has skyrocketed. That is what we are doing. We are not listening to the cues from the nature, you see. And paradoxically, Amazon is the forest that has given to so many drugs. One good example would be acetyl salicylic acid, the aspirin, or the molecule that you can see it here. This is nothing but hydrochloroquinone, HCQ. That was once the first line defense against coronavirus itself. And still we are exploiting the biodiversity of the Amazon. And is it only in Amazon? No, here in India too. Amazon of the East. That is what we call it as Assam's only rainforest. And the forest is known as Dehing Patkai Reserve Forest. And the government has recently approved plan to completely deforest that reserve forest to make a mine. Mining has been approved by the government. So we are not really learning anything from all these things, and we still keep on exploiting our natural resources. So that is actually the problem. So Dehing Patkai is full of biodiversity. You can see that so many endemic birds and butterflies frittering through the rainforest of this Dehing Patkai. Everything will be now converted into the mine. It's all about the priorities, friends. So this is the Amazon, right? The Quechua tribe, the tribal population, they had this wisdom, ancient wisdom of using this bark of these trees for treating against malaria and other infectious diseases that we have been using even for the COVID-19 initial days, hydrochloroquinone. And still, without listening, without getting this kind of knowledge, ancient knowledge, we are just completely destroying to construct mines and other infrastructure projects. So that is what we call it as urban vanity, friends. So deforestation and encroachment to the ecosystem is the real root cause of all these emerging and re-emerging diseases, because that led to increased contact of humans and our livestock with the wildlife. So this increased contact naturally give rise to spillover events, friends. So the likelihood of the spillover events will be very high. So one thing we should know is that the wilderness, our Gahing Patkai or other deep forests, the rainforest, serve as a reservoir of pathogens. That is the central argument of this brief talk. Wilderness serves as the reservoir of this pathogen. It's just like snakes or even hornets. Snakes never attack you unless you poke them, right? Or the hornets or the wasp. So same thing with the wilderness too. So like venom of the snakes and hornets, like the reservoir of exotic zoonotic diseases or zoonoses. So infectious organisms stored deep inside our wilderness is the nature's defense weaponry. She would release it as new pathogens if we cross the limit. So nature has its own limit. It's just like Indian government has our defense ministry. Nature also has got its own defense ministry, where this emerging and re-emerging infectious diseases are stored deep inside. As you can see in this, Amazon, you can see that viruses like SARS-CoV-2 are stored deep inside. We have no clue what more dangerous, emerging and re-emerging. We have already seen Zika and Ebola and Nipah, right? Marburg, SARS, H5N1, H1N1. Everything is actually being released from the forest. If we cross our limits, just like the venom of the snakes or hornets. Pathogens are actually in a state of undiluted equilibrium in a complex, stable, undisturbed ecosystems. So there is a name for it. If you have taken any course on basic ecology, you might have heard there is a term called portfolio effect. It's just like portfolio of the mutual funds in personal finance. If you have invested any time in a mutual fund, you might know that it's unwise to invest everything in equity fund. You need a well-balanced portfolio comprising debt fund, gilt funds, liquid funds, index fund, equity fund, everything together. Just like that, the biodiversity too. You need a rich biodiversity with lots of different species. Then only that kind of biodiversity is in a stable equilibria. But if you actually, exploit it, then the equilibria is gone. Then the stored viral particles like this will get released. That exactly is what has actually happened. So just like hornets sting when you poke on it, nature too fights back when disturbed. So that exactly is. It's not that the nature simply releases. No. So if we cross a limit of exploiting the biodiversity, these stored pathogens get released through spillover events. When the threshold of the biodiversity loss is crossed, reserved pathogens get released, and then we call it as new pathogens. These are really not new. As in the beginning of this talk, I've said about a latest paper in Nature Biotechnology, the sarbecoviral family has been evolving since 1948. Almost half a century back. It's nothing new about it, but we call it as novel coronavirus because this is new for us, right? So all this is, because of our, indiscriminate exploitation of the biodiversity difference. Well, there are several explicit reasons for the emerging diseases like Ebola or SARS or Zika. Exotic bush meat trade, like pangolin meat in the China, or even many of the East Asian countries, as well as in Africa, this bush meat trade is very common. Bush meat is nothing but wild meat. Fortunately, here in India, we this is not the case. Bush meat, it's not really in India. So, but still, exotic bush meat trade is one of the explicit reason, direct reason for this problem. Another main reason that nobody is talking about is rare species trade. So if the species is really rare, then people smuggle it, because it can fetch lots of money. And even wildlife trade, all these are explicit reason. Another very important reason not many people talk about is alternative medicine, because alternative medicine has got an inordinate fancy with endangered species. One good example would be if you ever gone to the Himalayas, especially Uttarakhand region, you can see that there is a popular, foraging called Kida Jadi. Kida, many people actually look out in the jungle for Kida Jadi. Kida Jadi is nothing but a, it's a symbiont between a caterpillar and a fungus, but many people believe that Kida Jadi is a panacea. It can cure all diseases, cancer, diabetes, sexual dysfunction, or AIDS. People claim that Kida Jadi can make it can cure AIDS, even cancer, or heart disease, just like monkey oil, rare monkey oil, alternative medicine. They actually think that monkey oil is really potent especially for aphrodisiac. Snake oil as well. Shilajit for erectile dysfunction, for example. Though scientific evidence is almost nil on all of these things. Kida Jadi, for example, there is no good quality science. There is no statistical hypothesis testing involved. These are just anecdotal claims. And people who haven't been educated simply, pray for it. They believe in their pseudo narratives and propaganda and gimmicks, and they pay thousands of rupees, even lakhs of rupees for this completely myth, pseudoscience products. And much more than that, these are actually the explicit reasons for the emerging diseases, friends. All these mysterious aphrodisiacs and panacea, people buy for it. And because people are there to spend lakhs of rupees, people hunt for the meat of this wilderness, which are really endangered species. And now you might think that, okay, I don't buy Shilajit, I don't buy Kida Jadi, and I also don't eat pangolin meat or bush meat, so I'm not responsible for emerging diseases. Friends, there are several implicit reasons as well. Implicit reason include lifestyle choices. What kind of lifestyle that you're having? All these things. For example, exotic food versus local food. You like to have an apple from California. You think that eating a Californian apple a day is a magic cure for increasing your life expectancy? You are wrong, friends. Seasonal local food is a lot more nutritious than exotic food that actually, travel almost more than a month in refrigerated deep freezers of shipping container ships. And also Belgian chocolate, for example, imported. You're buying the chocolates through Amazon, thinking that chocolate is the magic cure for heart diseases. No, so many of these are propaganda, but we are simply pray for it. Or branded packaged water versus refilled water bottle. I simply carry a water bottle and I simply, refill this water bottle wherever I go, rather than buying a packaged water like Bisleri, Kinley, or Ecofina here in Bathinda in Punjab. Most of this water is being filled in Himalayas, Himachal Pradesh. And from HP, have you ever thought how much kilogram of carbon is being burned for its transportation? Transportation to Punjab. So what is actually the carbon footprint? Not many people are talking about. And even if you are not really using it, if you organize a conference or a workshop in your college, for example, HMV or this KMV in Jalandhar, if you organize a workshop, fortunately, this conference is through online mode, but offline mode workshop, you simply serve these water bottles onto the, dignitaries, isn't it? Think about it. Think twice before it. In Central University of Punjab, each and every conference and workshops and faculty development programs and refresher programs that I conduct, I made a policy that I will not serve any of this, packaged water. And also there won't be any flex boards. Friends, flex board is also just use and throw item. Once you throw, this flex board gets disassociated into microplastics. And these microplastics get assimilated into the ecosystem. Biomagnification happen. A very complicated story I have covered oftentimes that in my YouTube channel. Or Other things include, yeah, this exotic food, for example, Scotch whiskey, imported whiskey from Britain, the Scotland, Highlands of Scotland. Wow, that is the best whiskey in the world. Do you think so? No. And just think that, of course, one bottle of this whiskey, like let us say Blue Label, very common here in Punjab or everywhere in India. How much carbon is being burned, even bottled in Scotland, and taking all this one all the way from the shipping containers. And how much is the carbon footprint of one bottle of this? And this is called the via negative approach. Many of the progress you can bring to your life, not by looking at the expensive and complicated solutions, just by removing the visas from our life. The philosophical approach called via negativa. Instead of buying a very expensive medical insurance that also covers the liver transplantation as a justification of drinking Blue Label, why don't you stop drinking right away? That will actually bring a lot of positive change to your life, friends, believe me. Commuting by car versus cycle. This is also in philosophy and psychology, there is a concept called groupthink or herd behavior. Here in India, the groupthink is that if you're in school, cycle is good. If you are in +2, cycle is not really nice. Let us graduate to a motorcycle. If you're in a college, a professional college, and motorcycle might continue, but the moment you get a job, let it be a school teacher job or a peon job or a clerk job, it's time for you to buy a car. And if you get a promotion, let us buy a better car, a bigger, fancy 4-wheel drive. Here in Bathinda, friends, I'm the only professor who commutes by cycle. Even my own students commute by big car. I don't fall prey for this group thing. I don't care. I care my health. Cycling is very good for your coronary artery diseases. It will not, the likelihood of developing heart disease is much lower when you cycle every single day. Even cancer risk, sleep, you get better sleep. Your emotional well-being, anxiety is lesser, and much more than that, it's good for your pocket, financial freedom. And much, much more than that, if you love your country, we import, friends, 95% of the fossil fuel. We import from Middle East like Iran and Saudi Arabia at a very, very high taxpayers burden. And if you ride cycle, it's good for the planet Earth as well because it's a zero emission. Think about all these things before making these lifestyle choices. Urban vanity is everywhere, and we simply fall prey for it. For example, stairway step machine in air-conditioned gym. I have, an abhorrence. I hate gym. The concept of gym, an air-conditioned gym. Why you want to go to a gym for the physical fitness? Why don't you simply go outdoors and run or cycle, or simply travel every day in cycle? There is an instrument I will just come to in a short while in the gym. Stairway step machine. Why do you want it? Just use the stairway in your workplace instead of elevator. There are so many simple solutions that we take it for granted. We think that complicated solutions are always better. There's a philosophical concept called Occam's razor. Occam's razor means that simple solutions are much more elegant than much complicated solutions. So consumeristic lifestyle versus zero waste. If you actually adhere to minimizing your waste, that alone is much good for the planet Earth. So is there any good news amidst the COVID-19 lockdown? Yes, because COVID-19 lockdown has led to decreased pollution levels, significantly lower pollution levels. And the reason is very simple, that we travel less, especially international travels. And that has drastically reduced carbon footprint and also the species introductions. Our last Vice Chancellor, Professor R.K. Kohli, he used to call it as IAS, invasive alien species, the introduced species, exotic species. And this species introductions have drastically came down now because shipping has almost stand still. Import, export, or blast water, all these things have drastically reduced. and even our own travel, right? We are not traveling much. And that is the reason that this species introduction have come down drastically. Even our dependence on the fossil fuel has dramatically come down to a level that the oil prices in the international markets have gone negative, friends, negative. This is news a few weeks back. Oil prices have gone negative. Unheard of in my lifetime. I'm sure most of your lifetime as well. Unfortunately, here in India, it didn't go. In many countries, it didn't go. But yes, in international markets, the prices of the petrol have gone negative because people don't travel. Nobody needs it. So in one sense, the nature is teaching us. Nature is becoming a guru. How to live, in accordance with her. So the impact is tremendous. We buy less, and that lead to we are wasting less. We buy less exotic food like Scotch whiskey or Belgian chocolate or Californian apple or the Italian or French wine. Instead, we buy more local food or local things. We are becoming more self-sufficient and self-sustainable, friends. And these two are the hallmarks of low carbon footprint lifestyle. Atmanirbhar Bharat, the Prime Minister's policy, it's exactly the same thing. That is what we really needed. Adhere a lifestyle which is as low as possible, the carbon footprint. Minimize your carbon footprint. Bring the UN Sustainable Developmental Goals to the personal level. In one sense, nature is teaching the humanity how to lead a life in harmony with her, in harmony with the nature. How to bring back that lost holistic balance, the equilibrium between biodiversity and human beings. So that guru is teaching us, how to bring back that holistic balance between the nature and human beings. It's just like the ancient Sanskrit word Purana goes, Chintaniya hi vipata madaveva pradikriya na kuba khananam yuktam pradipte vahinana grihe. That means that it's better to think of remedy before the problem arises. It's of no use to cry when the house is set on fire. So be proactive. That is what my years of affiliation with Scouts have taught me too. I was part of Bharat Scouts and Guides. Tayyar, be prepared. That is the motto of Bharat Scouts and Guides. So everywhere, international scouts, be prepared, tayyar. So it's of no use to cry when the house is set on fire. So prevention is better than cure. That is what the Latin proverb also goes. That is the same wisdom, friends, ancient wisdom. That is what the karma is all about, right? Our actions are responsible for the consequences. If we cross the limit of the biodiversity exploitation, then the nature fights us back. It's nature's defense weaponry, these emerging and re-emerging infectious disease particles, the new pathogens. COVID-19, like other emerging zoonoses, is nature's retribution. That is what the karma is all about, isn't it? So this is a picture from my own, village. I'm basically from a very rural village called Korom in North Kerala. And the village has, throughout Kerala, we have something called Sarpa Kavu. Sarpa means Naga or the snake. And these kavu are nothing but sacred groves of Kerala. It's very well famous, much reputed sacred groves. Very famous ecologist called Madhav Gadgil from Indian Institute of Sciences. He has written extensively about the importance of the sacred groves. Friends, thanks to these sacred groves, we still have a very good biodiversity preserved in these Sarpa Kavu. These are the sacred groves. We have a myth, we have a superstition in Kerala that from ancient times that if you cut any trees or if you hunt any animals in these sacred groves, then you will be in a serious trouble. The Sarpa dosha means you might even get, or even your family members might get a bite from snake. Because of this myth, friends, it has integrated deeply into our culture and civilization, We innately started having a respect for the nature. And thanks to this ancient wisdom, our ancestors have been following hundreds of years. We still have hundreds of Sarpa cow everywhere in Kerala. Almost every household, we have got a section of our plot dedicated for reserve forest. We need that centuries old biodiversity reserve called Sarpa cow. Yes, Sarpa cow is still there in other part of India as well, especially in Northeast India. You know, Mizoram and Manipur and Nagaland, especially Nagaland, has got this same practice. Every plot of household, there is a reserve forest that, you know, that is only for the Sarpa or snake. But it doesn't matter whatever the myth is, but the purpose is straightforward. Respect the nature, respect the biodiversity. So what is the vaccine I'm talking all about? Vaccine is this Sarpa cow. That is the central argument of this small talk, friends. Our best vaccine against the next COVID-19 epidemic is Sarpa cow. We need biodiversity reserve. We need to preserve our nature. Nature as our, you know, mother god, right? That is exactly what is in ancient wisdom all about. Let us prevent the biodiversity loss just like our ancestors have been doing. Let us prioritize saving our forests and oceans through sustainable development. Let us build more Sarpa cow rather than mines and bullet trains. We have to, prioritize our priorities. We have to actually optimize it. We have to align it with what really needed. We should also bring these SDGs to our lifestyle, the Sustainable Developmental Goals, 17 of them. You know, I can talk hours and hours on all of these 17 SDGs of the United Nations. But that doesn't serve any purpose. I don't believe in empty rhetoric, armchair philosophical preaching. Bring to your life, friends. Do it in action. You know, this is what we really need instead of simple academic armchair preaching. There's a very famous quote by a Stoic philosopher: be the user, not the slave of the gifts of fortune. Be the user, not the slave of the gifts of fortune. That is a sustainability to the core to me. You know, think of today's children and unborn children of the posterity, generations of the children. The world is not just ours. The world belongs to today's children and other posterity, new generations to come. We should not take it for granted. We don't have any right to pollute this Mother Earth. Another very famous by the same philosopher, Seneca: if you live in harmony, with the nature, you will never be poor. If you live according to what others think, you will never be rich. I told you about urban vanity, isn't it? Graduating from a cycle to scooter, then to a car, then to a four-wheel drive. If you follow this group think, you can never become rich, friends. But if you know how to exercise self-discipline, you know, and if you know how to live in accordance with nature, you will never become poor. Money is immaterial. So what is my own baby steps towards sustainability? I'm now 100% organic waste to composting. Even my own hair and nail clippings too, I start composting, and I have a small kitchen garden. So I buy less stuff. That automatically lead to the less waste. So buying more is the danger here. You know, if you buy more, automatically you waste more. You know, so if you buy less, then the waste will also become very less. Seneca is again the same Stoic philosopher who said this 2000 years back. It is not that the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor. So it's not material wealth. Even if you have too little, no problem. But if you crave for more, then you are very poor. You know, very profound. Yes, it's profound wisdom, friends. Another quote by another philosopher, Tyler Durden: the things you own end up owning you. The things you own, like a new iPhone, you know, or a nice car, you know, an Audi, end up owning you because your identity becomes your material possessions. Think twice before falling prey for ad gimmicks. I buy local, I buy seasonal food, which is cheaper and healthier. I buy the things from the local farmers market, made in Bathinda, and I love it. I redefine my priorities. That's really important, I think. Redefining the priorities is what we really needed. For example, in my lifestyle, there is no place for caste or religion. It's immaterial for me. Much more than that is nationalism. The reason, after a foreign PhD, I did my PhD from Japan as a Japanese government fellow, and I have been to 23 countries, and still I'm always back home because India is my motherland, and I'm serving with full of spirit and full of responsibility. Yes, national matters, but more than nationalism is humanism, love for other human beings, and much above everything is environmentalism, because we have only one earth and one planet. My philosophy in one sentence is: be a creature on earth while a citizen of the world. A creature on earth, ultimately we are animals. We are like 8 million other species of other animals. We are just one among them. We have no speciality. And think about other animals and plants, so, and be a citizen of the world. That is what it's all about. So sustainability itself is a meditation, friends. Being mindful of the environment and acknowledging the fact that we have only limited number of days in this planet. That exactly is the mantra memento mori is all about. Think of death. Death is nearing. We have limited number of days. Caring for today's children and unborn posterity is extremely important. That is the meditation we all have to think about it. And is sustainability is new concept? Like academicians always talk about sustainability. Is it new? No, sustainability is as old as humanity. Squandering, that is wasting, is a peril of modernity, the urban vanity. If I want to name the champions of sustainability or the top professors of sustainability, these are the top professors: Amazonian tribes living in the jungles of the Amazon. They know much better than us how to live in harmony with the nature. Or you don't have to go to the other side, polar opposite of the earth, right in India, near Andaman and Nicobar Island. I was listening to the talk by earlier speaker, and he was speaking about the infectious diseases in villages in Andaman and Nicobar, right? I had been there twice. North Sentinelese. So North Sentinel is an island very near to the North Andaman Island, which is an uncontacted tribe. And these tribesmen and tribeswomen, they are also leading a sustainable life. There is no plastic in their life. They are living a life in harmony with the nature. I have immense respect for these tribesmen and these tribeswomen, or other tribes people, Munda, Santal, Oraon, Kharia, Gond, whatever be. The tribes people have much more closer to the nature, that lifestyle. We have to learn a huge lesson from them, friends. My own experience, I had an ultimate sustainability experience in both of the India's Antarctic stations. I was proud to be part of the Indian Antarctic mission, and I even had an official passport, the white passport of the government of India. Friends, in Antarctica, there is no tourism. Even if you have crores of rupees in your bank balance, you cannot go to Antarctica. I had been living nearly 4 months in the Indian Antarctic stations, Bharati and Maitri, and I wrote a book about it, Voyage to Antarctica, published by Government of India Press. It's available online, you can order it. And while returning, friends, all waste, including our own excrements, brought back home. Zero waste. Only our exhaled air went waste there, nothing else. Even excrement we brought back home. Why did we do that? You might know that in Antarctica, the temperature is minus 79 degrees, up to that. No decomposing bacteria can live in Antarctica. And that forced us to redefine our priorities. That forced us to consume less, eat less. I even fast 1 day of the week. In modern times, most of the problems are caused by eating more rather than eating less. If you eat less and if you observe fasting 1 day of the week, you actually live longer. I'm not 100% anti-plastic. No, it's not about the plastic, but it's how we use the plastic. That is very important. Life cycle assessment. There is a concept in environmentalism. How many times you're using? One example would be this Aldi plastic bag which I got from Germany a few years back when I went there for sabbatical. I still use it. Every single time when I go to the farmer's market, I use the same bag. It's a plastic bag, so what? Multiple studies have highlighted that the the tote means, the shopping bag, lasts much lesser, forcing frequent purchases and increasing overall carbon footprint. So life cycle assessment matters a lot. And these are all the proofs of urban vanity. Many people drive in big four-wheel drive car, but they have, this kind of, what is this? Bamboo water bottle, to give an identity, a fake identity that we are eco-friendly, very expensive eco-friendly product like bamboo toothbrush, the wooden toothbrush, or this kind of steel straw. Are these essential? Think about it. What's the problem if you have only one, the plastic toothbrush? Anyway, the bristles are plastic. No issues because you're using it for months, right? At least for 3-4 months, you're using one toothbrush. No need for frequent, every day. You don't have to use a new toothbrush. I'm using one water bottle, for the last 6 years. The same thing. I'm using one Triton water bottle, a Camelback. So what? There is no problem with that. There is no need for me to go to this kind of urban vanity. Or look at this. Instead of commuting every day in cycle to the workplace, people go in a big car and they hit the gym. And then in the gym, air-conditioned gym, you do stationary cycling, like this guy is doing. Come on, this is a vanity, right? This is foolishness. What else is that? Or look at this stairway step machine. Instead of taking the stairway in your workplace, you go every time in elevator, the lift, and then you drive in your big car to an air-conditioned gym to do this stairway. Oh, come on, such a complicated solution for such a very simple solution. Oxam's razor concept is profound, friends. Or look at this treadmill. Why do you want to run in treadmill? Come on, you can run in nature. Outdoor, there is absolutely no problem. It's much better to inhale the fresh air. I don't like gym. There is no need of going to the gym for your physical fitness. These are all part of the urban vanity, friends. I bike to work and I'm really happy about it. I also do tour. Last year, at this time of the year, I was in Odisha, 10 days. I was in Odisha cycling all over Odisha, solo cycling mission with some messages on why cycling is very important and why the environment matters. Mother Earth matters a lot. Polluting is bad. All those things, and every year I plan that solo cycling trip. Next year, I'm planning to hit Goa and Karnataka coastline, another 10 days if the COVID-19 situation gets better, of course. Cycling, I told you, is good for physical health and longevity, mental health, better sleep, zero emission, low carbon footprint. Going fossil fuel free is good for economy of the country as well. In all sense, cycling is good. And more importantly, I vote for the politics that protect our environment. India is the world's largest democracy, friends. I carefully read and look out for environmental policies in the election manifestos of the parties, and I exercise my franchise wisely. Unfortunately, India is one of the highly, air polluted country in the world. Air pollution skyrockets. Few weeks back here in Bathinda as well, extreme air pollution. The real reason for the air pollution. I do vote every single time. You should do that too. You should read the election manifestos of the parties because we are a democratic country and we have to vote and read it carefully for the environment related election promises in their manifestos and vote for the party that preserves the mother nature. Very, very important stuff. Sustainable development is exactly same as being carbon neutral or zero waste or self-sufficiency, that is Atmanirbhar Bharat, right? Self-respect that leads to mindfulness, friends. Financial independence, healthy and fit life, low carbon footprint, everything goes hand in hand, you know. So what we really need is Sarpa cow rather than urban vanities like the treadmill or a stairway step machine in the gym or import Scotch whiskey. What we need is Sarpa cow, because these are the cultural sustainable developmental goal SDG vaccine to prevent the next COVID-19 pandemic. I have got several interesting videos in my YouTube channel, so please have a look, including how to manage your time efficiently and also about academic writing, the crux of academic writings. As I told you, Curiosity is the weekly science program. It has recently been awarded as well, a medal. Please have a look in my channel. You can search my channel. The channel is bit.ly/BASTF. bit.ly/BASTF. BASTF. Or you can search my name in the YouTube. Nanni. Nanni is in Malayalam means thank you. Open for any questions.
Okay, so thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Dr. Felix, for your thought-provoking presentation. Certainly, deforestation and encroachment to the ecosystem is the root cause of emerging and re-emerging diseases. Infectious organisms stored deep inside our wilderness is the defense, nature's defense weapon. If we cross our limits, nature would release it as a new pathogen in its defense. It is a high time for us to save our environment, our ecosystem for sustainability. So we are very much thankful to you for sparing your valuable time from your busy schedule and enlightening us with your thought-provoking words. We are looking forward for your valuable contribution to our upcoming events too. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, so before proceeding with the poster session, let us first have two audio visuals based on women empowerment and other describing the hostel life of our heritage and autonomous institution, Kanya Mahavidyalaya. So let us have AV. Thanks for the AB, sir. Now I think we should proceed with the poster session. I would like to request Dr. Narendrajit Kaur, ma'am, to proceed with the poster session now. Please, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Dr. Surbhi. I will proceed with the words of Winston Churchill. The pessimist sees difficulty in every opportunity. The optimist sees opportunity in every difficulty. An exceptionally good afternoon to all the distinguished guests, esteemed delegates, faculty, and students with great joy and immense exultation. It's an honor itself to honor this beautiful audience who has gathered online here. I, Dr. Narendrajit Kaur, welcome you all once again on behalf of Department of Sciences, KMV, on this e-poster session of two-day national e-conference on COVID-19 pandemic, emerging challenges and future strategies. It is an occasion like this, an opportunity to knowledge and understanding, and we look forward to getting an idea about what the best of the brains thinks about this very dynamic issue of COVID-19 as e-posters. To start, let me acknowledge the presence of our guests as judges of the e-poster presentation, Dr. Meenu Arora, Dr. Rohit Mehra, Dr. Pooja Ohri. We felt great pleasure to have you amongst us. It gives me pleasure to share with all that we have received an overwhelming participation for e-poster presentation from around 17 states of India. And all these videos of e-poster presentation are available on our DBT Star KMV YouTube channel. For the judgment of these e-poster presentations, we have three distinguished judges amongst us to give their. So let me please introduce them one by one. First distinguished judge to honor us with her presence is Dr. Meenu Arora. She is Associate Professor, Department of Chemistry, Maharaja Ranjit Singh, Punjab Technical University, Bathinda. She is doctorate from Guru Nanak Dev University on assembled materials with teaching experience of 12 years. She has 12 publications in international journals and attended 10 conferences. She has contributed 5 e-content developments for e-PG Pathshala on environmental sciences. She has 2 books. She has delivered several expert lectures and FDP on curriculum development sponsored by NITR Chandigarh at GZCCET Bathinda. Organized 3 national level conferences on recent advances in environmental and chemical sciences. She has organized 5 state level science fairs to create awareness among students. She has organized awareness programs for testing of milk rations, and during COVID-19 prepared and distributed hand sanitizer and 1% sodium hypochlorite solution among needy people. Led various drives like winter clothes distribution, stress management, tree plantation, and maintenance during lockdown as contribution towards society. So I feel honored to invite Dr. Meenu for her feedback. So, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. And first of all, I would like to thank Dr. Manjusani and Madam Narendra for inviting me to such an vibrant conference at an esteemed heritage college, at an esteemed heritage institute. Indeed, the judgment of such vibrant and dynamic participants was very difficult. Everyone was equally competent and has written a lot, and I was surprised to see that the students of BSc, they know MOOC, they know all the platforms of e-learning. Probably we don't know those platforms, and the students, they had such a vast knowledge that is that we can say thanks to Google. And of course, I would like to congratulate the winners, and at the same time, the contribution of the other participants, it's not less. Rather, they were equally competent, but it was, you can say, small difference in presentation or small difference in material, which make other, you can say, winner. And but of course, they shouldn't feel bad. They should work hard, and they should come another time in some another conference. They should make their presentation, and you can say with more enthusiasm, and definitely they will do and they will achieve. And at the end, I would like to congratulate the whole organizing team for you can say for organizing this conference during such pandemic time. It was indeed very difficult to host e-conference, and where all, you can say, where you have to bind all the participants. It is really difficult. And thank you so much. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your valuable feedback. We have you among us. Now, next distinguished judge to honor us with his presence is Dr. Rohit Mehra. He is Associate Professor, Department of Physics, IIT Jalandhar. His areas of research interest are radon and thoron studies in human environment, track etching and annealing studies, minerals and applications in geothermal studies, health risk due to natural radiation, dose from environment, heavy ion radiation damage studies in track recorders, reduced modifications in polymeric track detectors, physico-chemical investigations and estimation of uranium, and heavy toxic metals in vessels for health risk assessments. History reference book chapters. He has completed one research project and one is going on. He is guided and 5 are in pipeline. He has delivered several expert lectures and organized many workshops and seminars. He is Vice President, Nuclear Track Society of Life Member, National Congress and Environment, Life Member, Indian Society of Information and Theory and Application, Indian Society for Radiation Physics, Mumbai, Honorary Vice President, International Accreditation Organization, Houston, USA, Member Board of Directors, American Bibliography Institute, USA, and many, many more. He's life member of many, many societies. So I'm just cut-shorting this. And he is life member Association for Radiation Protection System Division, Mumbai. Dr. G.R. Udas, Dr. K.K. Dwivedi Medal for Research in 2018 by Indian Society of Applied Geochemists. He got Best Teacher Award in 2018 for contribution in the fields of academics at NIT Jalandhar by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Sorry, I think I got disconnected. Should I repeat?
No, ma'am, I think
No,
it's
you
okay.
can continue, Dr. Narendra. Yeah,
It's-
you can
it's
continue.
Okay. I was, I think, disconnected, and he was awarded Dr. G.R. Udas, Dr. K.K. Dwivedi Medal for Research in 2018 by Indian Society of Applied Geochemists, Best Teacher Award in 2018 for contribution in the fields of academics at NIT Jalandhar by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, NIT Jalandhar. He was nominated by International Scientist of Year 2007 by Cambridge University, UK. I would like to invite Dr. Rohit Mehra, sir, to give feedback on e-poster presentations. So over to Dr. Mehra.
Thank you, ma'am. I think I'm audible to everyone. And first of all, I would like to congratulate especially the organizers of this event for organizing a 2 days conference during this pandemic time, and providing an opportunity especially to the budding scientists and upcoming researchers to share their ideas. By the quality of the papers which we have evaluated, definitely Dr. Meenu has very elaborately explained the contents of each and every paper or poster which we have evaluated. Everyone has done very good so far as their inputs are concerned in terms of content. Just because of the little bit difference of the topic, the content, and the presentations, we have done our judgment based upon the our wisdom. But definitely everyone is capable enough, and everyone deserves a good round of applause, especially for his or her contribution, because during this pandemic time, so whatever you have done, that is very good enough. I'm just focusing on a few topics which I would like to share my ideas with the budding scientists who are coming to the research field. Though I am not a very experienced person, you could say, to discuss, but I'm still a learner or in a field of research. I'm still learning a lot. But just my little bit academic experience which I have got from my students, especially because I have guided nearly 14 PhD students. So what I have learned from them, that the research, whatever you do, when I was doing my PhD, the things for research was totally different, because sometimes we have to spend months and months to collect the literature for our literature survey purpose, because at that time no internet was available and it was not easy for having access to all the internet resources by each and every institute. But now this world of knowledge has spread to all areas of the world, and no institute is now lagging behind in getting the information which is available in the web. And this is one of the big reasons that nowadays the students are quite efficient. मैं जनरली एक बात बोलता होता हूँ कई बार अपने स्टूडेंट्स को कि पीएचडी करने के बाद ये जरूर लगता है, बिकॉज मोस्ट ऑफ यू विल अप्रिशिएट इट हु आर पीएचडी, कि अगर यही करना था तो ये तो काम 6 महीने में हो सकता था. So why we have spent 4 and 5 years in doing this, especially in the field of experiments, where we can conduct the experiments, and if your instruments goes on working, and you can conduct whole of the experiments within a span of 6 months, and then the rest of the 4 years why we have spent. So that is actually the big investment which we have made with the knowledge that we have gained during the research, because now you can define a problem in a very proper manner. Sometimes there is a problem with all the budding researchers, that they want to do so many things. Of course, it's a good approach, but for a PhD, you should work on some specific problems. And nowadays, the government is funding most of those researches which are either doing some product as an innovation, or you are doing something for the society or the environment, because these are the few things which are very important nowadays. So I would like to suggest all of you, especially, that don't try to exploit the research, because this time you might have seen there are a lot of research which is going on the COVID issues. A lot of social scientists are coming forward, and a lot of research papers that this is the scenario of the students, this is the scenario of the working class, this is the scenario of the private class people, and a lot of publications are coming up. But the only thing which is going to survive is that what innovative you are going to develop out of it. And today you all are aware about it, that today our Prime Minister is visiting, I think, 3 labs, Hyderabad, Pune, and most of the, you will be very much aware that most of the vaccines which are going to be given to the world that has been developed in India, and our research is also very good enough. Our research is rather, you could say, socially acceptable, because if you develop a vaccine which can be taken at a temperature of say -100°C or -70°C, so it is not common for all the people, because to achieve a temperature of -80 or -70 is very difficult. But if you develop a same vaccine which can be refrigerated at the home, or which can be refrigerated at an ordinary refrigerator at -19 or -20°C, so that is easily acceptable by the society. So though every research is important, but what is acceptable by the society, that research is more innovative. So if you develop a vaccine that is developed at a -100°C that has to be stored, that is again a very good type of research, but that is not very easily acceptable by the society, because to have a -100°C, you have to have a very controlled environment. But if you develop a research or a vaccine in such a condition that you can store it in ordinary refrigerator which is available to you in the houses, or even some research labs at a more lower temperature, say -30 or -40, that is very much acceptable. So you should always work on those ideas which are readily acceptable by the society, and society is going to achieve something out of it. Sometimes the people have a complaint: we have submitted one project in the DST, we have not got the funding. We have submitted some projects in the BRNS, we have not got the funding. So the only reasons, there is no crunch of funds. That, let me make it very clear, because we are very much involved with the central government, and we are actively participating in so many shortlisting committees who are going to finalize for the research projects. We are not having any shortage of funds. Government is having sufficient amount. The only thing which we are looking is just to do the innovations, because now you can't spend the people's money in only doing a project which is just a project on the papers. You should always come up with some innovative ideas. Some innovations should be involved, some product development should be there, or you could give some suggestions or solutions for the society. So that is a very important thing while pursuing your research. And I have seen the quality of the work of you people, and I'm hopeful that we are safe enough. We are having very good budding scientists and engineers, which can definitely lead India to a very big success. So once again, I thank all the organizers, all the participants, and especially my fellow colleagues from the KMV, because I'm very much associated with the KMV from last so many years. So I congratulate all of you for organizing this successful conference. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable feedback and such enlightening thoughts. Next distinguished judge to honor us with her presence is Dr. Pooja Ohri. She is a professor, Department of GNDU, Amritsar. She joined the Department of Zoology at GNDU in 2007. She has 13 years of teaching experience and 18 years of research experience. Her area of specialization is nematology, and she guided 3 MPhil and 7 PhD students, and 5 are in pipeline. She has 90 research publications, cumulative impact factor 128.536, with impact factor range 1 to 1.6. She has completed 3 research projects and 1 is going on. Has delivered several expert lectures and organized many workshops and seminars. She has many awards to her credit: Nematological Society of India and MSET ICCB Ranchi. She got Young Scientist Award in 2013 by MSET ICCB Ranchi, Young Scientist Award 2014 by SERS Meerut, Faculty Award by CRS Young Scientist Associate Award 2018 by SPPS New Delhi. I would like to invite Dr. Pooja Ohri to give feedback on e-poster present. So over to Dr. Ohri.
I hope I am audible.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thanks a lot for this nice introduction. And it's my pleasure to be here today, this afternoon, to be a part of this e-conference, which is being organized by Kanya Mahavidyalaya. And I'm thankful to Professor Atima and Shri Chandamohanji and the organizing committee. I could see Dr. Sadhana, Dr. Archana, my friends, and thanks to you all for inviting me on this occasion. Since last year, when this pandemic started, the public gatherings, they were discouraged worldwide in an attempt to contain this coronavirus. So the cancellations and postponement of scientific conferences dealt a heavy blow to many scholars who would have spent months in preparing their presentations. And it has been particularly damaging for the early career researchers, budding researchers who need exposure for their research and networking opportunities to further their careers. But thanks to the virtual platform, advances in technology, they have allowed online platforms to mimic the physical meetings. And besides the advantage of continuing scholastic conversations and ensuring the diffusion of research findings, there have been other bonuses like the cutting down of the carbon footprint and the lower levels of the pollutants in air. And it has also increased the inclusivity of those researchers who have travel restrictions otherwise due to paucity of funds or they have some family restrictions. So like every coin has two sides, no doubt this virus is a deadly virus, but we all have adapted ourselves to fight against this virus, to protect ourselves from this virus. Okay, not taking much time, talking about the poster session. It was very heartening to see the participants so passionate about the presentations and deliberating their viewpoints. And I was happy to see the observations regarding the COVID-19 and its impact on the environment and the mental health of the people, and how this ICT can help us, or it has developed so many platforms to facilitate the teaching learning processes. I would like to appreciate the research work which is being done, which was regarding the in silico identification of potential inhibitors from Erica Katechu against the main protease of SARS-CoV-2. And there was a research work done on the Indian kitchen and the psychological impact and online education. And in one of the research, they talked about the papaya seeds and their effect in enhancing the magnesium. Along with that, one more thing I would like to mention here is that the energy and positivity of KMB students, that was really contagious. And I congratulate all the participants for presenting us with good quality posters. And I congratulate the organizing committee for this successful conduction of 2 days e-conference. So congratulations to everyone. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your valuable suggestions and feedback and enlightening us with. Now we will announce the names of prize winners after valedictory function. So that now it's the time for valedictory. A leader is one who lights the path to the impossible, takes those who follow to great heights. With these words, I consider it a great privilege to invite our wings of flight, our pillar of strength, and our constant source of motivation, a visionary and epitome of excellence, our principal, Professor Atima Sharma Dwivedi ji, for her valedictory address. Over to ma'am, principal. Over to ma'am. Ma'am,
Director,
ma'am,
I think so. मैम ने भी ज्वाइन कर रहे हैं.
कर लिया मैम ने। मैम सॉरी म्यूटेड है।
मैम म्यूटेड।
Yes, now it is done. Thank you. Actually, the host had, muted me and I couldn't unmute myself. So thank you, first of all, for very, very kind words, Narendraji. And at the outset, I want to welcome once again to this valedictory event all the experts, the faculty members, the wonderful, people. I was just listening to Dr. Rohit Mehra, Pooja Oriji, and I think Dr. Meenu has still to probably address. But I wish to welcome everyone to this wonderful, conclusive event of the two-day national conference. And before I go on with some other, whatever my opinions or observations, I would like to congratulate everyone involved with this conference, right from the, the participants, especially the students who have, Dr. Pooja was just saying that the energy of the students was contagious. So first of all, I would like to congratulate the students because it is their energy, it is their interest, it is their overall participation which encourages us year after year to hold such events. I would like to now then congratulate and really want to express my gratitude to all the experts who made this conference a great success. Beginning with Dr. Garima Gupta, Program Director at DBT, who was very participative and encouraging in introducing the, the inaugural note. And then Dr. Bakshi and other technical experts who helped us to bring great value to this conference. And I always understand that whenever we enjoy an event or we enjoy a conference, it is the judges who are doing the hard job while we are just mentally, focusing on the best part of the conference. So to that effect, I really want to express our thanks, gratitude to Dr. Rohit Mehra, Dr. Pooja Ori, and Dr. Meenu for their, this difficult task of judgment, because it is as laborious and as long. I don't know how interesting it is. It must be, because when you look at, the energy and the new papers that the students have put up or the posters, so it is interesting, but then it is laborious task. So thank you very much to all of you. Dr. Rohit Mehra rightly said, and we have met Dr. Pooja Ori also, that you have been very participative in various events of Kanya Mahavidyalaya. So yet again, I want to say thank you to you, because, institutions, I firmly believe, should not be lonely islands. They have to be participative. We all have to, these days, the global pool of knowledge is now available to us. So the basic thing is that the pool of intellectual wealth that we have, especially in the form of professors, experts, the scientists, and the experts of various subjects, that is the intellectual pool that our students must enjoy, and they must have the benefit to listen and of course, get the best out of each teacher. So participation and getting connected, and of course, the interinstitutional participation, that is very valuable. And once again, I'm glad that we did that. And of course, the participation of 362 people in this conference is mammoth. Of course, we've been holding such events before also, but then I think in the Science Star College, this event wherein we bring in, such topics, this kind of participation from 17 states of India. It's amazing. And to that effect, I want to bring in now the, the hard work of our own faculty, the organizers under the able leadership of Dr. Neetu. I understand that Dr. Archana has been very participative, Dr. Narinderjeet, Dr. Mrs. Sadhna Tandon, and then we have so many other teachers, our own faculty members. I mean, I must be not naming everybody, but then I understand that all of you have done a commendable job in putting up this conference together and having the participation of, people from 17 states of India is no mean task. So very well done, and I'm very proud of this effort as head of the institution. Narinderji just said that head of the institution is the pillar, but then one pillar cannot really support a huge grand mansion or a building. So there are so many pillars, everybody is an important pillar, and we are a strong team. That is what makes the difference. But above everything else, I wish to put in a great word of deep appreciation for Department of Biotechnology, Department of Science and Technology, Government of India, for supporting these events. Had it not been for these schemes, had it not been for this support, such events wouldn't have gathered this kind of momentum. So DBT is doing a great job, and their program of, their whole scheme of star colleges, which Kanya Mahavidyalaya is one of the 29 colleges, all over India. I'm not sure 29 or 39, I may be corrected if I'm wrong. So the support that is being given to these colleges all over India is commendable to develop the scientific temperament, to develop the interest of students in the real concepts of science, because we need scientists in the country. There are all the problems in this, today's world, starting with, of course, with the major that we are facing, that is the COVID situation. And of course, coming down to environment or any other problem that we all are facing today. Science has the only potential that can solve these problems. So it is very important to have good scientists, to have innovations. I could hear that Dr. Mehra was talking about, the research and all the inputs that need to go, the out-of-the-box ideas that need to come when it comes to, thinking in science. So innovations, new thinking, we are lacking in our country. Out of the box thinking or innovations, we are far, far behind any other, system of science in the world or the countries who are really doing so well. But this time I'm very happy and very proud of the scientists that our country is almost on the brink of coming out with a vaccine. So this means hope is there. And we are capable people. So the only thing is that we have to make efforts. And these conferences, these events, they go a long way to build up that kind of interest, that kind of focus, that kind of energy into a discipline. And so Department of Biotechnology, Government of India, DBT is, I think, contributing a great deal in, fostering that kind of temperament, that kind of interest in science. So my best wishes to all the scientists. I am not, but I feel very proud that, the Department of Sciences are doing so well, and all our friends are participating experts. They are, bringing a lot of value, common knowledge, common, kind of synergy, as you say, that this synergy is being created with your help. So well done, all the faculty members, the science faculty of Kanya Mahavidyalaya, the Star College coordinator, Dr. Neetu Chopra, and everybody else on the, on the faculty. We are all very proud of you, and I hope that in times to come, in months and semesters to come, and years to come, we will continue to do better than this. And once the COVID threat is over, physically, we will have all these people of more than 17 states, maybe 27 states next time, of India on the campus. So with these words, I would like to just now invite other participants to say something. But last but not the least, let me give a hearty word of congratulations for this great conference that was held online. I was listening in between, and very, very good participation. And I'm sure that in this present times of COVID, it would have brought a lot of, good interest among people, because we are also missing the connect with each other, and such conferences must be continuing till we physically meet. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. You have always been inspiration and motivation and driving force for all of us. And we feel so ecstatic to have you amongst us, ma'am. And you have motivated us by being a living example and by sharing your expertise and knowledge. Thank you once again, ma'am. Before we proceed to the much awaited moment of prize distribution, so I'd like to invite some of the participants to say something about this national e-conference. And we have got some requests from the participants say something about this national e-conference. So I'll just invite first Dr. Anamika from Delhi University to give her feedback on this national e-conference. Is she there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay, okay.
Good afternoon, one and all. I'm Dr. Anamika Singh from Department of Botany, Maitri College University. First of all, I want to congratulate all the organizers and principal of the college in Archana for organizing a wonderful conference. As we all are aware, this is the pandemic time, but we are utilizing being a scientist and being a science teacher this time is very, because somehow this is the time of learning something new, and we want to create some new normal things, especially in the future, because the small tiny virus is changing a lot and whole world is suffering with new normal things. So this is a very good experience from organizers, and the topic is really super. And the participants, especially the students, I have already sent 3 of our students, and they did really excellent work, and hope all other students from different states were up to the mark. And many thanks and congratulations once again to the organizers and the college. Hope we'll meet you soon in offline mode. Definitely. Thank you. Thanks again.
Thank you so much, Dr. Anamika. Next, I would like to request Dr. Gypsy Malhotra from MIT University. Is she present? No. So the floor is open for if anyone from the participants want to give their feedback. They are
present, may I, ma'am? Actually,
yes, please carry on. Please.
Oh, thanks, ma'am. Good afternoon, everyone here. I'm Gypsy Malhotra from MIT University, Uttar Pradesh. Would like to add some lines for the feedback. First of all, I would like to congratulate Principal Ma'am for organizing such a good conference. I would like to express my gratitude to organizing team for such a vibrant e-conference on COVID. I got really impressed from the planning and the smooth conduct. It shows really the commitment of the teachers, faculties, and the students involved. I think everyone has done a commendable job to reach success and fostering the scientific temperament in all. Excellent sessions were there by resource persons. I would like to add on Professor Bakshi sir and Ramachandran sir. They have really enlightened how technology can be positive support for spreading the education and developing a higher order thinking skills, which is the 21st century's demand as creativity, critical thinking. And Dr. Roy has given the details about COVID. And Dr. Felix, I will never forget how our karma is responsible. He has made us understand that how sustainability our environment, is high time to understand that we have to be eco-centric. And at the end, I would like to say the keynote which I am going to take, the key knowledge is how to be proactive. That's important. Thinking out of box is very important. It's really a great conference, well organized and great speakers. Thanks for making me be the part of this conference. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gypsy.
Thank
So anyone from the participants, if anyone wants to give his or her feedback for this conference. I think no one is there, so I should proceed further. Be a positive energy trampoline, absorb what you need and rebound more back. Now, the much awaited moment of today's e-poster presentation, that is announcement of prize winners of the event. So we have selected best 3 entries each category. We have 3 categories for faculty, for research and review, and for students. So each winner will be awarded a cash prize. First prize winner will receive 1,100 rupees as a cash prize, and second prize winner will receive rupees 1,000, and third prize winner will receive 900 rupees. So I would like to start with the first category, and let me share the screen. So is it visible? Is screen visible?
Dr. Narendra, till now, yes, now it's visible.
Yeah, it's visible, Narendra. Yeah.
Okay. So let me go. Yes. So the best poster awards, first category is scientific research faculty. So the first prize goes to Sabina Bernays from Tucker College, Tamil Nadu. This position is won by Dr. Manoj Patidar, Government College, Manawar. And the third position is goes to Dr. Manpreet Kaur, SKUAST, Jammu. Let's go to the next category. Second category is of students. So the first prize goes to Shireen from BSc Med Sem 1 and Jaipur BSc Medical Sem 5, KMV Jalandhar. So they tie for this position. Second position goes to, again, there is a tie between Niyati and Dr. Anamika from Medccollege, University of Delhi, and Vajinder, BSc Maths Honors Sem 1, KMV. Then third prize goes to Neha Gandotra and Riya from DAV College, Bathinda, and Harmanpreet Kaur, BSc Non-Medical KMV, Jalandhar. So there is a tie again in third prize. Next category, Best Posters Award for Faculty Review. So first prize goes to Dr. Som Chatterjee, Durgapur Government College. Second position goes to Dr. Ashwini Kumar, Dwaba College, Jalandhar. And third prize goes to Dr. Gypsy, Amity Institute of Education. Then next category is Consolation Prizes students. So question is won by, again, 2 students, Pahul Padam, MSc Zoll KMV Jalandhar, and Kanika Pathania, BSc Non-Medical Sem 5 KMV Jalandhar. So congratulations all the winners from all of our science department KMV and whole of the KMV family. So but those who have not won the prizes, उनके लिए मैं कुछ लाइनें बोलना चाहूंगी। तर्कश में कोशिश का जिंदा रखो, हार जाओ चाहे जिंदगी में सब कुछ, मगर ऐसे जिंदगी जीतने की उम्मीद जिंदा रखो. So with these words, I would like to request all the prize to send their bank details on kmvscistar@gmail.com so that we can send prize money to your accounts directly. So once again, my sincere thanks to college management and our worthy principal ma'am for always guiding and supporting us. My sincere thanks to Dr. Madhumeet for steering the proceedings so well during the inaugural session. Now I would like to request, now last but not the least, I say, अपनी एक जमीन, अपना एक आकाश पैदा कर, तू अपने लिए एक नया इतिहास पैदा कर, मांगने से कब मिली है खुशी मेरे दोस्त, हम अपने हर कदम पर विश्वास पैदा कर. With these words, I want to thank everyone present here and thank you so much for a very wonderful audience. Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. Very well done, all of you. Thank you. Dr. Manju, I forgot your name. I'm just, sometimes while speaking. So all of you, many congratulations for holding such a wonderful conference. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. नहीं, मेरा हो गया इधर.
Nitin sir, end the meeting, please.
Okay. Thank you.
Nitin?